The massive excavation site on planet Kepler-7 stretched for miles beneath the purple sky. Captain James stood at the edge of the crater, watching his team work below. The Galactic Council had sent them here after strange energy readings were detected deep underground. "Captain, you need to see this," called Dr. Anna from below. Her voice carried excitement that made James hurry down the metal ladder. The archaeological team had uncovered something impossible, a structure older than any known civilization in the galaxy. The walls were made of a material that defied their scanners, smooth and dark like polished obsidian but harder than diamond. "How old?" James asked, running his hand along the ancient surface. "At least 50 million years," Anna replied, her eyes wide with wonder. "But that's not the strangest part. Look at these symbols." The markings on the wall seemed familiar yet alien. They reminded James of something from old Earth museums, but that was impossible. Humans had only achieved spaceflight 300 years ago. They were newcomers to the galactic community, considered primitive by races like the Varan Empire and the Crystal Mines. Lieutenant Mike, the team's security officer, suddenly froze. His scanner was beeping frantically. "Captain, there's a chamber behind this wall. The energy readings are off the charts. They used plasma cutters to create an opening. What they found inside changed everything. The chamber was vast, filled with technology that hummed with dormant power. In the center stood a holographic projector, still functional after millions of years. When Anna activated it, a figure appeared, unmistakably human. The hologram spoke in a language their translators couldn't decode, but the visual records it displayed were clear. Cities floating in space, ships the size of moons, humans walking among the stars when the current galactic powers were still evolving in primordial oceans. "This can't be real," Mike whispered. "The Council teaches that the Voran were the first spacefaring race, but the evidence was undeniable. Database after database revealed the truth. Humans hadn't evolved on Earth. They had seeded it as a sanctuary, a hidden garden where their species could start anew after some great catastrophe." James found himself staring at star maps showing human colonies across the galaxy, all abandoned, all hidden. Earth wasn't humanity's beginning. It was their backup plan. "We need to report this to the Council," Anna said, but her voice held uncertainty. "No," James replied firmly. "First, we need to understand what happened. Why did our ancestors hide? What were they running from?" The team worked through the night translating more records. They learned of the Great Silence, a deliberate choice by ancient humans to disappear, to let younger races inherit the galaxy. But why? As dawn broke over Kepler-7, they found their answer in a secured vault deeper in the structure. It contained weapons, devices that could harness the power of black holes, manipulate time itself, reshape matter at the quantum level. The ancient humans hadn't been defeated. They had been too powerful. They chose to step back, Anna realized aloud. They saw what their power was doing to the galaxy and chose to give others a chance. But the records also contained a warning, a protocol left behind. If humanity ever rediscovered their heritage, if they ever found these ruins, it meant the galaxy needed them again. The seal on their ancient power could be broken, but only in the face of extinction-level threats. James looked at his team. They held the secret to humanity's true nature. The galaxy saw humans as weak newcomers, barely worth notice. The Varan Empire had even threatened Earth with subjugation just last month. "Download everything," James ordered. "Every file, every schematic, every piece of history. The galaxy thinks we're children playing with fire." He turned to look at the hologram of their ancestor, standing proud and powerful. They're about to learn that we're the ones who invented it. The excavation site on Kepler-7 would soon become the most important discovery in galactic history. Humanity's awakening had begun, and the galaxy would never see them coming. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council floated in the void between stars, a testament to the power of the five ruling species. Ambassador David stood before them, feeling the weight of their condescension even before he spoke. "The human delegation requests equal representation in the council," David announced, his voice steady despite the laughter that rippled through the assembly. High Commander Vex of the Voran Empire rose from his crystalline throne, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of mock sympathy. Little humans, you've barely left your planet's atmosphere for 3 centuries. The Voran have ruled the stars for 30,000 years. The crystal minds pulsed with amusement, their collective consciousness speaking as one. Your species still uses chemical propulsion for half your fleet. You seek equality with beings who harness stellar energy. David remained calm. In his pocket, he carried a data chip containing everything from Kepler-7. Captain James had sent it directly to Earth's leadership, bypassing all standard channels. Only a select few knew the truth. We offer unique perspectives, David continued, playing his role. Our rapid development shows potential. Potential? Interrupted Elder Tau of the Ethereal Gardens. Your world produces nothing the galaxy needs. Your technology is derivative. Your culture is chaos. Perhaps in another 1,000 years you might earn a minor seat. The assembled races murmured agreement. The void dancers, beings of pure energy, flickered dismissively. The Silicon Hive's million voices buzzed with derision. High Commander Vex leaned forward. In fact, the Council has decided. Earth will accept Voran protection or face isolation from all trade routes. You have 1 solar rotation to decide. It was exactly what Earth's leadership had predicted. The strong prey on the weak, it had always been the galaxy's way. But they didn't know that humanity had once written different rules. David activated his communicator, sending a simple message. Phase 2. What was that? Demanded Vex, his sensory organs detecting the transmission. Our answer, David replied, allowing himself a small smile. Across the galaxy, things began to change. On the Voran frontier world of Axios, ancient ruins suddenly activated. The colonists barely had time to evacuate before the entire planet's surface reshaped itself, revealing a massive shipyard that had been hidden beneath millions of years of rock. In the Crystal Mine's home system, their most advanced research station detected an energy signature they couldn't explain. It was coming from their own sun. No, from something inside their sun. Something that had been dormant since before their species evolved. The Silicon Hive's collective network experienced its first error in 10,000 years. A virus? No, something else. Old code, older than their civilization, waking up in response to a signal they couldn't trace. Back in the council chambers, alerts began flooding in. Every major power was reporting anomalies, all connected to ancient structures they had built upon without knowing what lay beneath. What have you done? Vex roared, his warriors raising their weapons. We've done nothing, David said truthfully. We've simply stopped hiding what we are. The main viewing screen of the assembly hall flickered to life without anyone's command. Captain James appeared, standing in the command center of something that shouldn't exist, a human warship that dwarfed anything in the current galaxy's fleets. Members of the Galactic Council, James announced. I am transmitting from the HMS Prometheus, commissioned 50 million years ago and awakened today. We are one of 10,000 such vessels hidden throughout the galaxy. The hall fell silent. Even the Crystal Mine's constant mental chatter ceased. James continued. Our ancestors built the foundations your civilizations stand upon. The hyperspace lanes you use, we carved them. The universal translator technology, our gift. The very stations and worlds you inhabit, built on top of our ruins. High Commander Vex's scales had turned pale. Impossible. The Voran were first. The Voran evolved in nursery worlds we designed, James interrupted. As did the crystal mines, the ethereals, all of you. Our ancestors watched you grow, guided you subtly, then stepped aside when you were ready. David pulled out the data chip, placing it on the podium. Every claim can be verified. Every technology traced to its origin. We didn't come to threaten or conquer. We came to reveal the truth. But know this, David's voice hardened. Humanity chose to forget our power once. We won't make that choice again. The galaxy's peace has been maintained by the shadow of our past. Now that shadow steps into the light. Deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, in a facility that officially didn't exist, General Robert stood before the Awakening Protocol console. Around him, Earth's United Military Command watched ancient systems come online for the first time in 50 million years. Status report, Robert ordered, his eyes fixed on holographic displays showing locations across the galaxy. Sir, we have confirmation from all sectors, reported Colonel Lisa. The preservation sites are responding. Mars has revealed 17 dormant ships beneath Olympus Mons. Jupiter's moon Europa, it's not a moon at all. It's a camouflaged battle station. The revelations were staggering. Everything humanity thought they knew about their own solar system was wrong. They hadn't been exploring, they'd been rediscovering. Dr. Peter, Earth's lead scientist on the project, was almost shaking with excitement. General, the technology we're accessing, it's beyond anything we imagined. These ships use space-time manipulation for travel. They don't move through space, they fold it. And weapons? Robert asked. Each ship carries something called a reality anchor. From what we can decipher, it can lock the laws of physics in a region of space, making enemy technology useless. There are also references to something called the Void Protocol, but those files are sealed with warnings. On the main screen, feeds from across human space showed the transformation. Mining colonies found themselves sitting atop hidden arsenals. Research stations discovered they were built around ancient laboratories. The moon base, humanity's pride, turned out to be merely the tip of a massive lunar fortress. Sir, incoming. Transmission from the Voran fleet, Lieutenant Tom announced. They're demanding we cease all activities and surrender these technologies to the Council. Robert almost laughed. Put them through. High Commander Vex appeared on screen, his fleet of 1,000 ships visible behind him. Humans, you will stop this activation immediately. These technologies are too dangerous for a primitive species. The Council has voted. The Council no longer has authority over humanity, Robert interrupted. Check your history files, Commander. I'm sending you something your archaeologists found 12,000 years ago but never understood. The data package contained Voran historical records, specifically their oldest creation myths, stories of the Sky Fathers who had lifted them from their primitive world and given them the stars. Archaeological evidence they had dismissed as coincidence, DNA markers, linguistic roots, architectural styles, all pointing to a common influence. Your gods, Commander, Robert said quietly, were human. The bridge of Vex's ship erupted in chaos. Robert could hear Voran officers arguing, some calling it blasphemy, others pulling up their own historical databases. Meanwhile, on Earth, the transformation continued. Cities worldwide watched as hidden spires rose from beneath ancient monuments. The pyramids of Giza cracked open, revealing preservation chambers. Stonehenge activated as a communication array, suddenly connecting Earth to a galaxy-wide network of similar structures. General, we're receiving signals from everywhere, Lisa reported. There are humans responding from places we never knew existed. Generation ships we thought were lost. Colonies we believed had failed. They're all checking in. They've been waiting. The true scope became clear. Humanity hadn't been confined to Earth. Small populations had been scattered across the galaxy, living in hidden enclaves, maintaining the ancient sites, waiting for the day of awakening. They were the keepers, descendants of those who had volunteered to remember when the rest chose to forget. How many? Robert asked. At current count? Over 300 hidden colonies, 17 generation ships, and... Lisa paused, double-checking her readings. General, there's an entire fleet stationed in dark space between galaxies. They're requesting orders. The Voran fleet had stopped its advance. High Commander Vex was receiving reports from across his empire. Ancient structures on every Voran world were activating, not as weapons, but as historical records. The truth was undeniable. The Voran Empire existed because humanity had allowed it. This is Ambassador David from the Council Station, came a transmission. The Council requests a recess to process this information. Several member species are experiencing theological crises. Robert turned to his command staff. Initiate Protocol 7. All awakened assets are to maintain defensive positions only. We're not conquerors returning to reclaim an empire. Peter pulled up another file. General, I've found something. The reason our ancestors withdrew, it wasn't fear or defeat. They discovered something coming from outside the galaxy. Something that required them to prepare. Prepare what? Robert asked. Us, sir. They prepared us. The withdrawal, the forgetting, the reemergence. It was all planned. They knew humanity would need to evolve differently, to approach the problem with fresh perspective. In the ancient archive beneath Kepler-7, Captain James stood before a sealed vault that had just recognized his DNA and opened after 50 million years. Inside, a holographic figure materialized, not a recording but an active AI that had waited eons for this moment. I am Marcus, the figure said, appearing as a middle-aged human in an ancient uniform. I was the last fleet admiral of the true human empire. You're here because the time lock has expired, which means they're coming. Who's coming? James asked, though part of him already suspected the answer. We called them the Devourers, Marcus explained, as star maps filled the air around them. Beings from outside our galaxy who consume civilizations not for resources but for something else, the spark of consciousness itself. They harvest species at their peak. The maps showed the ancient human empire at its height, spanning not just the Milky Way but 12 neighboring galaxies. Then red markers appeared showing the Devourers' approach. We could have fought them, Marcus continued. Our technology was sufficient, but victory would have cost everything. The weapons required would have torn reality itself apart. So we chose a different strategy. Anna stepped forward, studying the data streams. You hid. You made humanity disappear. Not just hide, Marcus corrected. We reset ourselves. The Devourers track civilizations by their technological signature, their quantum footprint in space-time. So we erased ours. We destroyed our empire, buried our technology, and started over on Earth. But why Earth? Mike asked. Earth was engineered to be invisible to them, a natural shield of specific magnetic fields and cosmic positioning. We became primitives again by choice, letting our quantum signature fade to nothing. Meanwhile, we seeded other races to develop, to create noise, to distract. James felt the weight of realization. The other species, the Varan, the crystal mines, they were decoys? Not decoys, Marcus said firmly. They were genuine civilizations we nurtured. But yes, their development was meant to mask our absence. The Devourers would see a young galaxy, not worth harvesting yet. We calculated we had 50 million years before they returned. And now? James asked. Marcus gestured to a new display. 3 months ago, our deep space monitors detected their probe ships entering the galactic halo. The Devourers have returned and they're surveying for harvest. The young races, your current Galactic Council, they're broadcasting their achievements across space, advertising themselves as prey. On Earth, General Robert received the same information through the Awakened Network. Every human leader, every awakened colony, learned the truth simultaneously. Their ancestors hadn't abandoned power. They had sacrificed it to save not just humanity, but all life in the galaxy. The Council needs to know, Robert said to his staff. Upload everything to them. Within minutes, the Galactic Council received the full data package. The initial disbelief turned to horror as they verified the information against their own deep space observations. The signals they had dismissed as cosmic anomalies were scout ships of unimaginable power. High Commander Vex's pride evaporated. How do we fight them? David, still at the council, activated a new display. Our ancestors left us the weapons, but they also left us wisdom. The old humans could have ruled through force but chose guidance. They could have stood alone but chose to nurture others. Now we face the same choice. You need us, Elder Tau realized. That's why you revealed yourselves now. We need each other, David corrected. Humanity alone, even with our recovered technology, might survive but not win. The galaxy united with human technology and coordination has a chance. Back at Kepler-7, Marcus's hologram showed James one final secret. There's a ship, the largest we ever built. We called it Prometheus's Heart. It's hidden in the void between galactic superclusters. It contains our ultimate contingency. Not a weapon, but something else. What? James asked. A seed. If we fail, if the Devourers win, it will flee to another universe entirely, carrying the genetic and cultural patterns of every species in this galaxy. Life would continue elsewhere. That's our backup plan? Mike said. Run. No. Marcus smiled sadly. That's our gift to the other species. Humanity has another plan. We've done this before, you see. Earth isn't our first restart. We've been running and hiding for longer than you know, growing stronger each time. James understood. This time we make our stand. This time, Marcus confirmed, we end the cycle. The Devourer probe ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Voran Empire's capital system. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, crystalline and organic, like a living cathedral of impossible angles. Its scan swept across the system, cataloging, evaluating, measuring the worth of the civilization before it. High Commander Vex's fleet surrounded it, 10,000 ships, the pride of the Voran military. Unknown vessel, you have entered Voran space. Identify yourself or be destroyed. The probe's response was not words, but a demonstration. A single pulse of energy disabled every ship simultaneously, leaving them drifting helplessly. The message was clear. Resistance was futile. Then space rippled. The HMS Prometheus, Captain James commanding, folded into existence between the probe and the Voran fleet. The ancient human warship dwarfed even the massive probe, but more importantly, it was immune to the disabling pulse. Devourer probe, James broadcast, not to communicate but to announce. Humanity has returned. The probe's reaction was immediate, a burst of tachyon signals toward deep space calling its fleet. It recognized the quantum signature, the ancient enemy that had escaped them so many times before. Across the galaxy, the awakening accelerated. Hidden fleets emerged from pocket dimensions. Dormant stations powered up. The moon-sized battle station at Europa began moving toward the galactic core. Humanity was mobilizing on a scale that defied comprehension, but they weren't alone. All Council species, General Robert broadcast from Earth. We're uploading tactical integration protocols. Your ships can now interface with human command systems. We fight as one. The Voran, their pride wounded but their survival instincts strong, were first to accept. Their disabled ships came back online with human override codes, upgraded with technologies they didn't fully understand but could use. The crystal minds, fascinated by the ancient human neural networks, merged their consciousness with the battle. Coordination systems, becoming living tactical computers. The Silicon Hive discovered that human nanotechnology could exponentially increase their replication speed. Within hours, they had produced millions of combat drones. The Ethereal Gardens found that human bioengineering could weaponize their plant-based ships, turning them into living fortresses. Even the energy-based Void Dancers learned that human phase technology could give them physical form when needed, making them perfect shock troops. The probe is sending coordinates, Lisa reported to Robert. The main fleet will arrive in 72 hours. Then we have 72 hours to turn the galaxy into a fortress, Robert replied. The transformation was remarkable. Species that had competed for millennia suddenly worked in perfect coordination. Human technology didn't replace theirs, it enhanced it, as if it had always been designed to do so. Captain James, studying the probe they had captured, made a discovery. General, the Devourers, they're not alive, not in the way we understand. They're automated harvesters left behind. By something else. Left by who? Robert asked. Unknown. But they have a shutdown command, a recall protocol. Our ancestors found it but could never get close enough to use it. The Devourers always kept their command ship outside the galaxy, protected. David, at the Council, understood immediately. But now we have something our ancestors didn't. Allies who trust us. The plan formed quickly. The United Fleet would engage the Devourer armada in the galaxy, not to win, but to distract. Meanwhile, a small team using humanity's most advanced ship would slip outside the galaxy to find the command vessel. "I'll lead the mission," James volunteered. "Negative," Robert replied. "You're needed to coordinate the defense. The mission goes to someone they won't expect." The choice surprised everyone. Ambassador David, the diplomat, would lead the strike team. But it made sense. He understood cooperation better than any warrior. His team was equally unexpected. One member from each council species, using a hybrid ship that combined all their technologies. As the Devourer fleet entered the galaxy, millions of harvest ships darkening entire sectors, the united forces engaged them. The battle was beyond anything in recorded history. Stars were used as weapons. Black holes became shields. Reality itself bent and twisted. But while the galaxy burned, David's team slipped through unseen, using human phase technology combined with Void Dancer energy manipulation. They found it. The Devourer command ship, ancient beyond measure, waiting in the void between galaxies like a sleeping god. The shutdown command requires biological authorization, David realized. It needs to recognize us as the builders. But we're not the builders, the Varan team member said. David smiled. No, but humanity might be their descendants. Our ancestors fled from something. Maybe it was from what we became. He placed his hand on the command console. It scanned him, reading not just his DNA but the quantum signature of humanity itself. The console activated. Across the galaxy, every Devourer ship stopped, turned, and began the long journey home to wherever they originated. The galaxy was saved, but more importantly, it was united. Standing in the council chambers weeks later, David addressed the assembled species. Our ancestors withdrew because they feared what power would make them become. We've proven that together, we're more than the sum of our parts. High Commander Vex stood, performing a Varan salute. The galaxy never saw you coming because you didn't come as conquerors. You came as protectors. The transformation was complete. Humanity had reclaimed their heritage not to rule, but to serve. The ancient technology was shared freely. The hidden colonies emerged to trade and teach. Earth became the galaxy's library, preserving the history of all species. The Moon Fortress became a united military academy. Mars's shipyards built vessels for every race. Captain James, looking at the stars from Kepler 7, smiled at Marcus's hologram. We broke the cycle. No, Marcus corrected. You completed it. Our withdrawal was never about fear. It was about growth. We needed to forget our power to remember our humanity. And in doing so, you saved not just our species, but our soul. The Q Galaxy had expected humanity to be weak newcomers. They never saw the truth coming, that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their hidden technology or ancient power. It was their choice to share it. The ancients were human, and they had returned, not as rulers but as equals. The galaxy would never be the same, and in the void between galaxies, the Devourer command ship carried one final message back to its creators, whoever they were. The children have grown up. They are ready. What came next would be another story. But for now, the galaxy was united, protected, and free. Humanity had come home.